So we're going to get in, we're going to hit this content hard, and then we're going to, hopefully give you some stuff to nourish your head, your heart, your soul, your spirit, all that good stuff, and get on with your day. All right. Hello. Welcome to Start With Compassion's Let's Get Intentional Live. We're on LinkedIn right now. My name is Amy Quessenberry, and I'm joined by Rebecca Ali. Rebecca, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great today.
Fantastic. All right, Rebecca, what are we going to talk about?
Today it's sort of a continuation of what we did a few weeks ago. It's prioritizing your priorities.
Prioritizing your priorities. Absolutely. So before we jump into this, I want to set some ground rules for us or actually share the ground rules that we've set for ourselves for our live shows. So Rebecca and I understand you're all very, very busy, right? And your time is precious. So we have made a promise to ourselves and to you to try and stay as close to 20 minutes as possible. All right. So we're going to get in, we're going to hit this content hard, and then we're going to, hopefully give you some stuff to nourish your head, your heart, your soul, your spirit, all that good stuff, and get on with your day. All right. So with that, let me talk a little bit about prioritizing your priorities and how this falls into the Start With Compassion framework. So when you think about the Start With Compassion framework, compassion is an acronym, and the M stands for moments, okay? And when we think about moments, it's how you show up matters. It's that, there's only so many moments in any given life, in any given day. And life is made up of a series of moments. And so just like when you think about your bank accounts, right? It's not limitless. Most people's bank accounts are not limitless. You need to choose how you spend that money wisely. We're advocating that how you spend your time, spending that wisely as well. So Rebecca, let's dig into this a little bit more. Love to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Amy. As you were talking, it sort of occurred to me that, my priorities today are way different than they were when I was 30 or 25, 40, any of those things. So I do think that it's healthy and natural for your priorities to shift. And, if you would want to jump into this already, my priorities are really my family and how I can show up for them every day. And that really involves taking care of me, my mental health, my physical health, and how that ripples out into my family. So how about you?
I've really started to focus on, just like our slogan, how you show up matters, right? The Start With Compassion framework, our slogan is how you show up matters. And through trial and error, through life, like you said, your priorities have changed through the decades, right? Mine have as well. And I've learned that I need to be intentional about who I spend my time with and how I spend my time. And so one of the things that really helps me show up as my best self is when I meditate and when I exercise. When I give myself time for these two gifts, I feel like I'm unstoppable. I mean, if I set my mind to something, I can do it. But that's because these two things charge my batteries, right? And I have to have my batteries charged. Another way to say it, fill your own cup, right? We talk about that a lot. You've got to fill your own cup. That's part of the ways that I do it. But it sounds a lot easier than it is, right?
Yes, it's absolutely true. I have to say, I've had a few of those rough days where I've been like, I really don't feel up to this. And, now there's more research about motivation and how you get motivated, and motivation follows action. So sometimes it's just getting my shoes on and getting down to the treadmill or whatever my exercise is for the day, whether it's yoga. And sometimes I don't feel like doing a hard, workout. And so I'll do a 10-minute meditation and I'll say, I need to do a gratitude meditation today. And that's what I do. And I'm okay with that because I've sort of made a deal with myself. As long as I take that time to just reset, whether it's physically or for my mental health, that's okay. Not every day is going to be a home run. It's not, you're not going to be the best person you can be every single day, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't have that goal to sort of keep moving forward.
Right. And I want to dig in a little bit deeper to what you were just talking about, because when we were preparing for this, one of the things that we said is what makes you feel good.
Yes.
Right. And align those with your priorities. Right. And so it's figuring out, first of all, it's understanding what are my priorities, right? So when we think about moments, digging into that a bit more, it's you're in point A and you want to get to point C. How you show up, what you do, how you do it, what you say, how you say it, that's the B. That's going to determine, are you going to hit C? Are you going to fall short of C? Are you going to do so amazing you full on exceed the expectations of C, right? All of that is in B. And planning and preparation directly determines that. And it's understanding, do you really want C? Hold on a minute. So I want to go back to what you were saying about, do I really want to do that full on? Do I really want to do that full on exercise? So I want you to go there a little bit deeper, please.
Yeah, sure. So I have tried to be a lot more intentional, and we talked about this last time, this sort of healthy, wealthy, wise framework that I use, where I kind of accept or decline opportunities based on that. And I think I do that often in my day as well. And it's not easy. Like, it's not, I have 1,000 things that require my attention on any given morning. And the deal that I made with myself was that this is going to be something I prioritize for myself because it makes me a better person to show up for my family. And I think as you were talking, what I was thinking about is that I can be very distracted sometimes. I can not be present, and my kids can tell me about their video games for an hour, and I'm like, And I find myself doing that when I'm not feeling 100%, right? And so I try to get enough sleep. And I try to exercise, and I just find that I'm more engaged and I can be more mindful and present with my kids if I am taking care of myself. So I hope I answered your question, but yeah, that's kind of how I look at things now. And I think that really, I'm so much better at this now than I was 10 years ago. Because I do think if you're fortunate enough to get older, you sort of go, what was I thinking? All that time and mental energy I wasted on all that stuff that didn't make me feel good, didn't make anyone else around me feel good. I wasted all that time. And so as your time is so precious and you see the horizon sort of coming up, you're like, hey, I'm not into this, spending my time in ways that aren't good for me anymore.
Right. So as we peel the onion of prioritizing your priorities, we first started out with figure out what it is that you want, right?
Yes.
That's not, oh, I think I feel this way. It's really getting intentional about what do you want, and then how are you going to make that happen? And so when we talk about the how, there's some real work in there. And one of those things, I'm going to have you go back to what you were just talking about a little bit more, but I want to set the stage for that. One of those things is setting clear expectations with the people around you. So in our Instagram live that we just finished a bit ago, you talked about something that you do. I'd love for you to share that again here.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. So just so we can clarify, my ultimate goal is to live as long and healthy life as I can, because I had my kids when I was a little bit older. I'm like, my dad died when he was 60, and I don't want that for my kids. And so I'm playing the long game here. And so when I'm looking at, what makes me feel good, it's not, what some people might consider making you feel good. But I like to lift heavy weights, and I like to run on the treadmill, and I like to do all of these things because I know when I'm 75, I'm still gonna be able to lift my groceries and get out of my car and hopefully live as long and healthy as possible. So that's sort of how I approach sort of my long-term goal. And what I've carved out, and the deal I've sort of carved out with my family, is that I get a minimum of 30 minutes to go and work out every single day. And sometimes that's yoga, sometimes that's meditation, sometimes that's just stretching. Other times it's running as fast as I can on the treadmill, depending on my mood. But they know, only come and talk to me if it's an emergency. Otherwise, I need this carved out time just for myself.
Right. So we figure out what we want,
Yes.
right? And then we set clear expectations with the people around us, right? Because when you think about start with compassion, when you think about how you show up matters, when you think about let's get intentional, all of these philosophies, platforms, perspectives, this is all about empowerment. It's all about saying, what is the life that I want to live, right? It's sitting back and saying, what is it that I really want? And what do I need to do to get that? One of the things that we talk about, this is something that a discovery that you had, Rebecca, so I need to credit you when I say this, but Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz said at the end, Glinda the Good Witch told Dorothy at the very end, you had the power all along. We have the power. But one of the things that we need to do is think through the barriers. So I would imagine, I think in your Instagram story, you talked a little bit about, you were struggling with finding that time. You were struggling with, I have a goal to work out, but I'm putting my family's needs first, which is, I get it. That's what people do all the time, right? Is we prioritize other people first. And then there's some instances where this is a must-have, right? Your kids have gotten to the age now where you're able to say, I can prioritize. I get to give myself a little piece of this pie that makes up the hours of my day, the minutes and the hours of my day. I get a piece of this pie, right? And I know some people are in situations where they don't have that luxury. I get that. But for those that do, to be able to sit there and say, this is important to me, and I have the power to do this. And to be able to sit down and think, if you find yourself in a situation where you're thinking, no, I can't do this, I'm going to ask you to challenge your belief system. Why is it? Why don't you, if you want something and this voice shows up and says, no, you can't, I want you to sit down with a piece of pen and paper or on your phone or your laptop, whatever, and write down what you want. And if you think you can't have it, address all those reasons why, write them down, and one by one, challenge those belief systems. Because sometimes it's real, right? Sometimes, but other times it's a thought that somebody else planted. You can't do that. And you bought into that talk track. So challenge those belief systems and see, hold on a second. Why can't I do that? I have this thought track in my mind. Amy, you can't run. I love to run. Oh my goodness, it's my favorite thing. Knee injuries, Amy, you can't run. And then one day I just said, what? Why? Now I'm running 45 minutes. Boom. 45 minutes. I'm not fast, but it's this gift that I give myself because I challenged my belief systems, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you were talking, I think one thing I want to make clear, exercise is what I do, but it doesn't have to be that. It could be 15 minutes of reading your favorite novel. It could be journaling. I'm not a good journaler, if that's a word, I don't know, but it's not my thing. And so that's not how I release. But when I can, for me, running is sort of meditative. And so I get some of my best ideas when I'm just mindlessly on the treadmill. Some people like to garden, some people like to cook. And I think it's whatever takes you out of your head. Yeah. And it's sort of the opposite of what I just said, but it sort of takes you out of your daily life head, right? That soundtrack that's in your mind that says you can't do this, or you should do that, or you shouldn't do this. And finding a new inner monologue that says, why not? Why can't you do that? You deserve this time, right?
Yeah. And to go deeper on prioritizing your priorities, it's also figuring out what you don't want and getting comfortable, as we like to say, saying no to those things. And sometimes you don't even know. Sometimes you're just, you're cruising down your life and these are the things you've always done. Or, somebody puts this plate in front of you and you always eat this and you're like, okay, this is how it goes. This is what we do. Well, hold on a second. What was working for me yesterday, last year, last decade, is that still working for me today? Does that light me up inside? And really pay attention to those things. I know you shared something in the Instagram. What do you think? Want to go there?
Was this about the not drinking part?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we in the Instagram, we had talked about what makes us feel good. And I think a couple of years ago, and certainly I think this, maybe has to do with, changes in your physical health and different ways you process things. But I just decided that alcohol wasn't making me feel good anymore. And because I come from a family where addiction is a problem, I decided to do dry January a couple of years ago, and it was great. I was like, you know what? I feel better. I had more energy. My skin looked better. Like I was sleeping better. Like it was all, it was a full package. That worked for me. And that was something I wanted to do for myself, because I wanted to be able to wake up the next morning and go, I feel good. I feel like I want to get up. I feel like I want to spend time with my kids and have an actual conversation. And it was going against the grain a little bit. It was, we sort of fall into these social norms and expectations. I'm like, you know what? I'd rather have a really good, mocktail type situation, because I don't know, it just makes me feel better at the end of the day. And that's kind of where I started to see these changes. I was like, well, if I can do that, what else can I do?
And I think, it is challenging the belief systems. It is stopping and literally, putting your foot sometimes on the brake and saying, wait a second, this isn't working. I'm going to tell a quick story. I know we're coming close to our 20-minute promise here. The last probably month and a half has kind of been a whirlwind for a variety of reasons. We've had multiple guests come and stay at our home. We don't have a large home, so it's always interesting. We've loved having them, but it's a different dynamic when people are going to come stay and they're there for, a week at a time, and then you get a couple of days off and then more people, and then so on and so on. In addition, I had an eye infection, and then I had a pinched nerve in my wrist. So these things that I do that charges my battery, meditate and the exercising, I just didn't meditate. I just stopped completely. I could have, but I didn't. And the exercising, I physically wasn't able to do it because of the injuries that I had. At least I was telling myself there probably could have been some exercises that I could have done, but I didn't want to. I wasn't there. I kept on pushing myself. Every day was, I just need to get through today. I just need to get through today. And then last night, here I am showing up as like a really grumpy person. And I'm thinking, I need to be on live tomorrow. And I want to show up as my authentic self. And I said, no more, I'll meditate tomorrow. You're going to meditate right now. I did a 50-minute meditation, 50. It was the best gift I could have given myself. I got my batteries recharged. Felt grounded. I was able to come here and truly, authentically show up as my best self. But what did I have to do? I had to go from the change of my life is managing me to I'm going to manage my life. That's the shift, right? That's the shift. Is we stop saying, I'm going to take the plate that my life is giving me and say, no, I don't want that plate. I have 30 minutes. I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do with that. Really? So we're at time. Do you want to take the closing words, those tools, those final tools that we're going to give people to wrap this up?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely will. So I think, if we were to sum up sort of how do you do this, right? You need to have a goal in mind, some sort of plan, something you're working towards. And for me, as a reminder, that was living as long, healthy life as I can. Then sort of how you take those action steps, right? Time is the only non-renewable resource we have, and how you spend that time is truly important. And really being mindful about what makes you feel better about the life that you live, and how do you get control. I love that sort of, you should applaud yourself for saying, no, wait, we're going to stop this crazy whirlwind week and we're going to just take some deep breathing. We're going to think about this. So I love that you were like, no, I have to stop and do what I need to do. I think that's wonderful. So having that plan and how you spend your time. And really part of that is knowing when and how to say no, which is not something we dug into this time, but maybe we'll talk about that next time. And because as a people pleaser, this has been a lesson I've been learning over a lifetime that I'm finally getting better at. I'm so proud of myself. And then really getting comfortable advocating and knowing what you need and what is going to move you toward your goals. And I think that is the three key parts. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you've absolutely got it. Yeah, it's knowing what you need, it's advocating for that, and having a plan. I did a reverse, right? I did it the other way. I started from the end and worked up. And I think, the last thing is to always start with compassion, right? To always start with compassion. So we want to thank you so much for joining us, Amy Quisenberry, Rebecca, Ali. If you're not following us on Instagram and LinkedIn, please do. We want to thank you for showing up today. We'll be back in a few weeks. We'll be digging into getting intentional even more. So hope to see you there, and take care, everybody. Bye.